They say the skies are free, that once you're up there, above the clouds, above the cities and the noise, everyone is equal. But what if I told you that at 30,000 feet, one man's dignity was challenged, not by turbulence, not by a storm, but by something far more dangerous, deep-rooted prejudice? And what if I told you that in that same sky, a single voice cut through the silence and taught everyone on board a lesson they'd carry for life? This isn't just a story about a flight. It's about what happened when a powerful white family tried to push a black man out of his seat, and how a veteran pilot made a decision that stunned the entire cabin. And trust me, you'll never guess how it ends. It started like any other day. The morning sun had just started to peek through the glass window of JFK International Airport, casting golden rays on the endless lines of travelers hustling through the gates. Businessmen sipping lattes, families dragging colorful luggage, kids with headphones glued to their ears. It was chaos, yes, but the kind of organized chaos New Yorkers had come to expect. Among the crowd was James Wilson, a poised black man in his mid-30s, tall, well-groomed, dressed in a dark navy suit and polished brown shoes. James moved with quiet confidence. He wasn't flashy, but something about him stood out. Perhaps it was the gentle way he greeted the elderly woman at the check-in counter, or how he helped a mother pick up a toy her toddler had dropped on the floor. James wasn't just another traveler. He was the founder and CEO of a growing tech company. A self-made man from Atlanta, raised by a single mother, he had built his business from a laptop and a dream in a shared apartment to a multi-million-dollar company with dozens of employees. But none of that mattered at 8:45 p.m. at Gate C-17. What mattered was that he had a seat, 12B, on a flight to Los Angeles for a major investor presentation that could change the course of his company's future. As he approached the gate, James nodded to the gate agent and scanned his boarding pass. "Have a great flight," she said cheerily. James smiled back and made his way onto the plane, finding his seat in the middle of the plane, next to a window, just how he liked it. He placed his briefcase neatly in the overhead bin, pulled out a hardcover copy of The Alchemist, and prepared to settle in. Then it happened. The family seated next to him, clearly affluent, white, and tightly composed, shifted uncomfortably as he took his seat. The father, a man in his early 50s, with silver-streaked hair and a Rolex that shimmered under the overhead lights, looked James over from head to toe. The mother clutched her designer handbag a little tighter. The two children, perhaps aged 10 and 14, exchanged glances. At first, James thought nothing of it. He gave them a polite smile and sat down. But just moments later, the father leaned over and called the nearest flight attendant. "Excuse me," he said, not bothering to lower his voice. "We paid for business class comfort. I don't think it's appropriate for our children to be placed next to him." The word stung, not just because of what he said, but because of the way he said it, like James was less than, like he didn't belong. The flight attendant's eyes widened. She was young, probably early 20s, and clearly caught off guard. She stammered, unsure how to respond. I'm sorry, sir, but seat assignments are—" "I'm not asking for a lecture," the man interrupted, his voice rising. "I'm asking for a change. Move us, or move him." The cabin quieted. A few nearby passengers looked up from their phones. James sat motionless, still staring at the page of his book. The same sentence repeated 3 times and unread. The flight attendant excused herself and disappeared into the front of the plane. Moments later, she returned with the captain. Now this pilot was no ordinary man. Captain Reynolds was a veteran of the skies, a man with over 25 years of flying experience and a deep sense of dignity. He walked with purpose, every inch of his uniform perfectly pressed, and every word he spoke weighed with quiet authority. "Good morning," he said to the family, smiling politely. "I understand there's a seating concern?" "Yes," the father replied. "We'd feel more comfortable if our family wasn't placed next to this gentleman." The captain turned to James. "Sir," he asked, "is everything okay?" James nodded once, not wanting to escalate. But then, the captain did something unexpected. He stood upright, clicked the intercom, and addressed the entire cabin. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. Before we take off, I want to make a brief but important announcement. We are all here, flying together as equals. In this cabin, there is no better row. No passenger is worth more or less than another, regardless of the color of their skin, the language they speak, or the clothes they wear." The cabin went silent. If anyone on this aircraft feels uncomfortable sitting next to another human being due to prejudice, you are more than welcome to deboard. We will be happy to refund your ticket. A beat. The white father opened his mouth, then closed it. Passengers began clapping, first quietly, then louder. Applause spread through the cabin like wildfire. The family? They sat stiffly, eyes forward, humiliated but silent. James? He didn't gloat. He didn't smirk. He simply nodded at the captain and whispered, "Thank you." As the plane ascended into the clouds, something else lifted too. The hearts of every person on that flight who witnessed courage in the face of cruelty. Later during the flight, a little girl from row 8 walked over to James with a cookie wrapped in a napkin. "My mom said you're really brave," she whispered. James smiled gently and accepted the cookie. "Tell your mom thank you. And you? You're going to do great things." The rest of the flight passed without incident. But something had changed, not just for James, but for everyone on board. Because moments like that don't just teach us about injustice, they remind us who we are and who we still need to become.